allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the men and women of our armed services and those we've lost due to COVID-19. Thank you. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey have been satisfied by the inclusion of the date, time, and place of this meeting in the notice of regular meetings adopted by this board on January 6, 2020. Such schedule and notice of meetings is posted at the Municipal Building, the Mount Olive Library, the Board of Education offices, and the 6 schools, was submitted to the Daily Record for publication on January 10, 2020, and was filed with the clerk of Mount Olive Township on January 7, 2020. Lynn, roll call.
Mrs. Aquino?
Here.
Dr. Gales?
Here.
Mr. Kemna?
Here.
Mrs. Ouimet? Mr. Petrie? Mr. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Strelacci?
Here.
Dr. Giordano?
Here. Let the record show Mr. Petrie had emailed to let us know he could not make the meeting tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Stevens, would you move, approve the approval of minutes?
You got it. On the recommendation of the superintendent, I make a motion to move action items 2.1 to 2.2.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Abstain since I wasn't here.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
And Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Communication petitions from the superintendent?
None other at this time, other than we've been in consultation with Chief Beecher and the Township Health Department regarding Halloween. After the governor's announcement, Halloween is on, so I had met with the PTO presidents, and we'll have an announcement by the end of the week as to what Halloween activities we'll be planning together.
Super, thank you. Anything from the board? Seeing none? Reports and discussions. Superintendent's report. Dr. Zawicki, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We're going to have a presentation from a couple of our directors this evening on the topics of our required grad rate report, on our student safety submission report, and then on our personalized student success plans. But before we get into that, just want to thank everyone for everyone's support over the past month. Once again, a tremendous amount of work went into the efforts to bring our students back. Last week we announced the rolling schedule of how we're going to bring our students back. This week there's going to be an increased amount of communication, particularly around Wednesday, from the building principals to those grade levels, explaining everything, going over the schedules, and then also providing the process if folks do want to change their cohort from remote to in-person at the change of the marking period. So when we had to go into the situation, the target was to get back to get back at the change of the trimester and the marking period. I'm very happy that we're able to do this earlier. There's a couple of factors that went into that. One, some very creative staffing. The second thing is we do have FFCRA leaves that are expiring, so that is a component of this. So when we do come back, once again, it is similar to other things. It's going to be that process. And then as soon as we can, and as soon as the state changes the provision of the 6 feet of social distancing, I'm hoping we can extend the school day, and I'm hoping we can serve meals during the day. That would be the next piece of that. So things are progressing. We do have indoor dining now. So we do see lots of things, moving in the right direction, and I appreciate your patience with that, and I'm happy we're able to bring back students starting next Monday. Two other pieces of news. We received a $187,000 award in coronavirus relief aid, which is new since the last board meeting. And we received an additional $188,000 in X-aid, both of which was unbudgeted, and that's a windfall of money, and we're going to use that to support our needs as we're transitioning back and things that we need, coming out of the pandemic and things like that. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over. First, we have our presentation from Mr. Stansberry, who's going to be very quick. It is now required to report out the grad rate each year at a board meeting, and so our Director of Secondary Education, Mr. Stansberry, who's well known. And by the way, this is a new thing with the bow ties, so I want to make sure everyone notices that. This is a daily thing we have going on now. So I just wanted to present that to the board as well, but thank you, Mr. Stansberg.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to draw your attention to 3 lines on the summary statistics slide that's in your packet. The last one, the percent of unverified transfers and dropouts. You can see that we saw a decline this year for the class of 2020, and those are students who transfer out or drop. You can see that we're addressing that through our RTI program and early intervention. And we also had a student go through our alternative graduation pathway for the first time with success. So we're very, very proud of that. The other line that I want to draw your attention to is the number of on-track continuing. You can see that there is an increase of 15 students who fall in this category, and that is due to our excellent 18 to 21-year-old program where students enter with the cohort of 2016, but they will be staying for the next 3 years to continue their growth and transformation and development in our Outstanding Special Services program. Why I point that out is because even though those students are staying for 3 years before 3 more years before they earn their diploma, they count in our district's cohort denominator. All right, I just wanted to make that clear. This is the largest group that we've had come through the program. We actually have 11 projected for 2021 and 6 projected for 2022. But it is an outstanding program, but they count in our denominator even though they're staying for 3 additional years before they earn their certificate. So you'll see a slight decrease in our graduation percentage from 95 to 94 for the class of 2020. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
Great, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Anecdotally, in the full report that I provided to the board last Thursday, when you look at the demographics, if you'll recall, in December of 2018, I provided you with the SS subgroup report that showed that we did not meet the target for African American males graduating, or is at 90%. This past year, the graduation rate for African American males was 100%, and we met all of our subgroup targets. So that is tremendous progress, and our RTI program is working. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Breton, who's going to talk about the required student safety submission report.
Okay. Good evening. It's nice seeing everyone. So, as required, we have to report out on our HIB and SSDS. This year, for this comparison, it looks dramatically different, and one of the reasons why is because once we went out on COVID, the numbers of what would be normal reporting went down significantly. We did still have some HIB reporting in the time that we were out on COVID, but certainly the numbers are quite skewed. In the beginning of the year, it did look somewhat similar to the first half of the year prior. So the numbers here at the elementary, again, look similar. At the secondary levels, it does look much lower, but again, in the springtime, that is, typically when we get quite a few reports, and we were not actually in school. I also just want to talk about the amount of training and programming that we've done in the last year. So in the last year, I've been meeting every Tuesday with our anti-bullying specialists to review not only our programming and being proactive with the amount of work that we are doing with our students, but also to review our HIB cases and make sure that we are staying on top of them in the paperwork. We also did our school climate survey, which was reported out earlier last year on this matter. So I'm very proud of the amount of programming that our SACs and our anti-bullying specialists have been doing. Just some highlights on that. So as I said, we were meeting weekly with the ABSs. There's been a lot of coordination, particularly with the elementary schools, on different programming that they're doing and work with our teachers in our classrooms. David Nash from NJPSA did a training for us last year, and he also was here this past week. He's phenomenal. So he worked with us. We've been doing more parent awareness trainings, social media awareness trainings, which is really critical. There's a lot of social media issues when it comes to our HIB reports. A large majority of them often come out of postings on Snapchat and Instagram, things like that. We also have the CAP program, which presented this past year, and also our Stomp Out Bullying program. In your packet, there is a link. You can see all the different programs that our ABSs did this year. I also just want to talk about our personalized success plans that we've rolled out this year. So a personalized success plan gives our students an opportunity to really look at their strengths and their core values as well as to set goals. So we have rolled this out as of October 5th, and our students across K through 12 will be looking at things that they want to accomplish over this next year. And so one really nice thing about this is that it's student-driven, and you can see in your packet there is a template. What I really like about this is a great hard copy that you can take home, that kids can have, and it's a great conversation starter with parents, and we definitely want students to be working with their families on this, as well as getting assistance from teachers, counselors, who can help them identify what they're great at, what they want to accomplish for this year, as well as looking at maybe some weaknesses or roadblocks so that teachers and our staff can help kids reach their goals. So lots of self-reflection. It moves along certainly with the SEL component. So this is right now, there is a hard copy. Students will be working it in a digital format, and I am currently in the process of working with real-time to digitize this within our portal. So there will be a rolling journal which students will be able to, and parents and teachers will be able to take a look at it to measure progress. So the steps basically that we will be working with students on is really just defining a starting point. Where are you? And looking at some goals, mapping learning styles, really appealing to what interests a child, because all children will have strengths and things that they like, and so we want to tap into that. Teaching students how to track, where are you with your goal, and what does it look like? How do you know when you're making progress? Refining when there are areas of focus so that they can really drill down when the goal needs to be maybe a little bit smaller and more achievable. And then building conversations with students and certainly families. Again, I think this is a great starter for parents to sit down and talk to their child, whether it's at the dinner table, it's in the car, or maybe before bedtime or on a Saturday morning. You can talk about what are you good at, what do you want to do. Again, compiling a student profile and then share and revisit the goals. We will be completing this 3 times a year, so we will be finishing by October 15th. We will be revisiting this again in January, and then we'll be revisiting it at the end of the year. Really looking at how did you do, right? And then maybe if you didn't complete a goal or you need to still work on it, we'll continue to carry that over. If you've completed it and you want a new goal, we can also do that. So again, I mentioned there are some timelines. October 5th, we've rolled these out. The teachers have already been introduced this. They're working on it. Teachers will be using the time in the next 2 weeks to have students fill it out and working with their parents. There will be reflections not only from parents but also teachers on their PSPs. Parents and teachers, as I said, can provide that feedback. And then one thing is that for our students, we actually have 11 graduate students this year from Rutgers, Montclair, William Patterson, Seton Hall, who will be working with our school counselors. And should a child maybe need some extra assistance, maybe one-on-one for a little bit of help, we will be following up with them to give them the additional assistance so that they can complete it. Any questions?
I would just like to add, we spoke about the research from the Harvard Ed Redesign Group, not this year's admin retreat, but the previous one, in that if we were going to be, in 2019, if we're going to be serious about personalized learning, then we'd have to implement, the personalized success plans, because it, one, attends to the whole child with not just academic goals, but wellness and social emotional goals, and that love of learning goal, which is so important. And then the other piece is that it's metacognitive. So, one of the things that I always loved and was attracted to in Mount Olive were the student-led conferences. This is going to take the structure of the student-led conferences and take it to another level where the kids are going to be tracking it from year to year, and also from trimester to trimester. So we're really excited for this. As anything where we're doing it, it's new. There are spits and starts, but one of the things that we had a decision point this summer was, do we press on with the personalized success plans? And given that coming out of the pandemic and all the different things that went on, we need them more than ever to track exactly where our kids are at, not just academically, but from a social, emotional, wellness perspective. So Dr. Britton did a phenomenal job with this, hit it out of the ballpark, and so far it's been extremely well received. And we're the first district in the state to implement these based upon the Harvard Ed Redesign research. So I'm really proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Sure, Dr. Gales.
Dr. Brennan, sorry. Dr. Gales?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the information, and the success plans are a really good idea if they are implemented with fidelity. I do have two quick questions. If we can go back to the HIV comparison, can
Sure.
you share with us what's in the category other incidents leading to removal?
It could be discipline that doesn't rise to the level of a HIB, but there might be some suspensions involved, or behavior beyond a detention.
Okay. And with regards to the success plans, can you share with us how it's built into the schedule for this to be completed 3 times a year?
Sure. So in all of our buildings, we have dedicated SEL time, and we have our students across K through 12 are working on SEL initiatives every single day, relationship building. And so during that time, we are using that time that's dedicated, whether it's the homeroom, they're all at least 20 minutes long. We're using that time to ensure that we're going through this. And then, so it'll be complete by October 15th, and then in January, I will set a time during that SEL period to go back and review.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Dr. Bratton.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Zawicki. Personnel Committee report. I'm just going to pull it up. Give me one second. The Personnel Committee met on October 8th. It was myself, Dr. Zawicki, Ms. Harrington Marcus, Mr. Kemna, and Mr. Petrie. We discussed the 6-12 return to in-person instruction plan that Dr. Zawicki shared with the full board. He gave us an update on the coronavirus relief funding, which he spoke about literally 5 minutes ago. He gave us a hiring update. He feels we're in pretty good shape with the subs we have and where we're at with staffing the buildings as part of that 9-12 return in person. Transportation supervisor posting is going up. Is it up yet?
I think it was posted on Apple Chat, and it's
Okay.
going in the
Okay.
newspaper.
So we're looking to hire for that position. She gave us a brief update on HIB, PD that's going on in the district that Ms. Brennan, Dr. Brennan spoke about. Leaves and accommodation recertification that Dr. Zawicki just spoke about with the coronavirus. That's coming due. He gave us a brief update on that. Activities, clubs, and stipends. I believe, Dr. Zawicki, the rule is going to be if a staff person for an activity, they have to be on campus, right? Yeah.
Similar to coaching.
Yeah,
So
similar to
you
coaching. They have to
you
be,
can't be on a remote accommodation.
right,
and then-
to
yeah.
do an activity or club. And then on the agenda, he spoke about the truancy officers, which is going to be Mr. Creepy and
Mr. Smarth.
Mr. Smith, just so we have official truancy officers in the district. Anything else, Mr. Kevin, that I missed?
You covered it.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Robinson?
I don't understand the truancy officers. Why do we have 2 truancy officers?
So there's 2 for redundancy. Usually you appoint 1. We're just doing 2 for redundancy in case someone's out or in case we have multiple things. The truancy officers perform a couple of things. Number 1, doing wellness checks and things like that when students don't come to school. So there's that component of it too. And then there's also times where they're involved with matters with family court and court orders. And sometimes it's the placement of a homeless student and things like that. The truancy officers will handle that. So there are security officers. So they're doing this ex officio. So it's really just a designation by the board that when we do get truancy matters, that they would be the people handling them.
This is not a stipend position
No.
or anything.
No, no money.
It's in the course of their daily. It's kind of like I'm the custodian of records.
Usually the job of the truancy person is for residency checks. That's what we've had in the past. The problem we've had in the past with truancy has been residency checks, just to see, people coming in that don't live here, things like that.
Yeah, so those are 2 different. So Mr. Creepy does do we had that settlement, I don't know if you remember, but he's done a great job with residency checks and surveils and does all this stuff. So this is specifically for truancy with students not attending, or there being issues related to a court order with them.
Just a question kind of in the same vein here. The security officer that we have on tonight, is that to replace somebody? I didn't.
No. So we have hours of, folks that we need security duties from, and so we don't have enough staff to fill it. The guys are all doing extra shifts, and when we do, hopefully we'll get back to, right now that we're not renting out the dome, but once we get the dome rented out, once we rent our facilities, we change the fee schedule so that we're now covering our cost and getting a little more when we provide security, but we don't have enough officers to cover all the hours and the demands that we have for all of our activities. And things that happen at night, football games, things like that. So it's still cheaper than using police, but really it's just another person to fill in because our security officers, they're all retired police officers. So they go on vacation, they go on golfing trips. They're not, beholden to us in the same way that some of our other staff members are because they're hourly employees. So this is just to get another person to help fill in those hours. So it's completely within the confines of the budget. It's not an additional position in that sense. It's to help us fill those hours.
It's a substitute.
It's basically like
It's a sub. In case one of the guys calls out a guy that, one of our security officers don't pick up an event, they don't, we just have to cover that event. So he would just sub for them, or if they're out.
We just
they
don't
take-
have the distinction of security officer and sub-security officer. They're all security officers.
Oh, shoot. Any other
Anthony?
questions or comments?
Yeah.
Sorry, my contact just popped out of my eye.
I'm sorry, I do.
Good, Dr. Chu.
Now that we're talking about the security officer, we're paying him an annual salary or proposing an annual salary to serve as a sub?
So that's it then is prorated.
But he's going to be serving,
That's if he works all those hours. That's if he works all those hours. So there's a finite amount of hours for our security guys, and then there's the extra stuff for when we rent out. And now for, when we have our tournaments in the summer, they're required to have security there and things like that. So it's at that rate for those hours. We do not have an established hour rate. It's prorated based upon that.
and do we know how many hours we're looking to fill to hire this person?
So at any given time, there's 2 or 3 shifts a week that are sometimes open. So, but when he's covering, someone else isn't getting paid.
Thank you.
Ms. Weemat?
Can we just get a listing of all these security officers and where they are? I mean, just so we have an accounting of them, I'd like to see where all of them are. I'm sure everybody else would.
A roster of the security officers, we can get that to
Yes.
everyone, sure.
Perfect. Good point. Anything else? Mr. Robinson?
Did we ever have a reckoning from NetCong in Roxbury about sharing Mr. Karifi?
All those conversations started, and then we went into the pandemic. And then there was actually, one of the administrators switched, so we're looking to bring that up again. I did have conversations with Lenape as well about doing shared service with them. But all those conversations were going on in February, and then we went into the pandemic, and like a lot of other things, it got,
Yeah, no, I
What's
can
up?
understand that. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
never heard
Good
anything
point.
more about it, that's all. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, Mr. Stevens, the C&T Committee reporter.
Thank you very much. It was myself, Dr. Zwicky, Mrs. Schlier, Mrs. Aquino. Mr. Robinson was unable to attend. We spoke about real-world connections with Mount Olive Middle School, grade 8 with 24 students, the high school, 9 and through grades 9 through 11 with 16 students.
Mr. Stevens, can you speak into the mic a little bit more?
You got it.
I don't know if everyone can hear.
Is that better?
Yes.
Alrighty, so, where was it? It's parent-funded for $150. Mount Olive Success Academy update, AM and PM running out at all elementary schools and the Mount Olive Middle School. Christy McFarland is overseeing Sand Shore as well as Chester M. Stevens School. Peg Mati is overseeing Mountain View and Tints Road. Ashley Lopez is overseeing the Mount Olive Middle School, and there are currently 127 students enrolled from grades 1 through 8. Personalized success plan update. All students by October 15th will have a completed plan. Plans are based on the research from the Harvard redesign. Each student, along with family and teachers, will develop a goal for an academic, social, and wellness, love of learning, and/or career goal, which Dr. Brennan did speak over. Calendar adjustments for Election Day and Election Day activities. All grades will receive virtual instruction and spend the day participating in Election Day activities. Return to in-person instruction on the 19th of October, Cohort B, grades 6, 11th, and 12 will go back in. October 26th, Cohort A, grades 6, 11, and 12 go back in. On the 2nd of November, cohort A, grades 7, 8, 9, and 10 will go, as well as on November 4th, cohort B's, grades 7 through 10. And November 9th would be cohort A, grades 6 through 12. November 16th would be cohort B, grades 6 through 12. And November 3rd is election day, so as well as before stated, it would be all virtual instruction through all grades. The change of cohort as of the November 16th, grades 9 through 12 will have the option to change from the remote cohort C to in-person. Their deadline is the 16th of October, as well as the December 7th grades pre-K to 8th will have the option to change from remote cohort to C to in-person. The deadline for that is November 4th. 2018 to 2020 graduation report, which we have gone over before, positive reduction in unverified transfers and dropout rate, as well as going to the next subject would be our student safety data submission report. All HIVs are down across the district thanks to Dr. Brennan and her work in the area. Thank you. And our gifted and talented report submission, we are now required to report our gifted and talented procedures to the New Jersey Department of Education, which is a new requirement, and all required documentation was submitted in time. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I have one.
Dr. G.
Nolan, if you'd like, you can defer this question to Dr. Zawicki, because you're the new chairperson of C&T. Was there any discussion about last month's question that I asked about disproportionality in the AP scores and AP classes?
Dr. Zawicki?
We did not discuss it then, and what we had discussed at the last board meeting is we're going to do an end of semester survey of our AP students, and we're going to try and get in all the kids who took it last year, and we're going to ask them to identify via subgroup, and we're going to ask them a battery of questions that I think will get at the point that you asked.
Okay.
But we're going to do it at the end of the semester once we get the kids back in with their teachers. Right now with the transition, we thought it would be better if we had kids with their teachers explaining why we're giving the survey and things like that.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Wiemat.
Has there ever been an accounting done recently of just how we are doing with, like, the electives? Because I see, how we're sending one of the students to Hunterton, and it's because of graphic design. Have there been any upsurges? Have there been anything that students are not interested in anymore?
So what we had done previously was we looked at the electives at the November meeting. I'll ask Mr. Stansberry to run a report on enrollment trends with the electives. We have added other electives, as you know, this year. We added a couple of AP classes, as well as the other 2 social studies classes, so I could have Mr. Stansberry present the report for you.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting, just to see where the students' interests are going with that.
Good point.
And, I'm sorry, there's one more thing. Lost my train of thought. Oh, I saw in the blog that there was something about CCM, but I didn't see it in the report. It was
So that wasn't-
talked about at the C&T meeting?
So that wasn't in my blog, that was in the email I sent to the board.
Well, it was in some kind of report.
Yeah, so it was a report on where we're at, particularly with all of our dual enrollment programs, et cetera. Registration is ongoing right now. As for the college readiness program, which I think you had a question about, that was supposed to take place in April. As you know, we could not do that. Dr. Breton is in constant contact with Dr. Simons, and that is supposed to get up right now. I think the interest was really good in that. We had over 100 students. That would require the kids to go to CCM, so they're working out doing some virtual things with that. But they have been in constant contact about that, and October is the month where all that is happening.
And do you just have some, like an explanation of the college readiness? I think it's a great program for parents to be aware of.
It is a great program. I think the thing with college readiness is, with Dr. Iacono, the conversation that we keep having is that to have our kids not take the AccuPlacer, because where we were going, what we wanted to do this July, the aspiration of Dr. Iacono was that our students are, because we have everything mapped in Rubicon Atlas, that the CCM would recognize our curriculum, and then students would not have to take the AccuPlacer to get placed into CCM. So that we're kind of changing the tire while the car is moving. So we have 2 things going on where we're getting that recognition from CCM and that plan that Dr. Iacono has, while also keeping college readiness. But college readiness is basically to identify students and then to show them options at CCM and also give them a pathway to prepare for the AccuPlacer so that they could have that in place before the start of their senior year usually.
Do we, because I know they did not use the AccuPlacer for all students at CCM. They
Correct.
did use high school transcripts, so I'm just wondering how close we are, since you're talking with Dr. Iacono, where are we as far as not doing an acuplacer for some of the students?
So
And
that's
are we
been
still looking at the acuplacer classes in the high
We
school?
are,
or we not?
we are, and that's what we detailed in the report. So Dr. Breton is meeting with Dr. Simons this month
Simmons.
about all that. So it was supposed to take place in April, and it was something that got pushed off because of the pandemic. The last time Dr. Iacono and I spoke about it is that we'd be talking about it here in the fall and then looking to move forward with it.
We haven't talked yet in this fall yet with anybody from CCM. We're
I
waiting to.
spoke to Dr. Iacono a couple weeks ago, and we said we were going to discuss it further.
Oh, well, no, that's what I mean. We're looking at like sometime coming up in October, November, or
Yes, that would be in place by January.
January.
Yep.
Any other questions, comment?
Can I make one other
Dr.
comment?
G, absolutely.
I just wanted to say a thank you for discussion items 1.01, to see that Real World Connections is continuing to grow, and to thank the superintendent and the administration for 1.05, because there are a lot of happy students and happy parents at the middle and high schools who are anticipating returning. So congratulations on the hard work. I know it wasn't easy, and I'm sure there are a lot of teachers who are looking forward to getting back as well.
Thank you. And with anything, we have a lot of questions about it. It's another transition, so it's going to be one of those things that evolves over time, and that's why we're doing the rolling in. And I know one of the big, in my parent university on Sunday evening, one of the big question parents had, what about like orienting kids to the middle school, the 6th graders, the 9th graders to the high school? So all of that hand-holding is built into this process. We're not bringing back all 6 through 12 kids at the same time, and that we're giving attention to each of the grade levels in the cohorts.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you. Finance and Operations Committee report, Mr. Kemner?
Yes, so we had a Finance and Operations meeting on Thursday, October 8th. Present were myself, John Kemna, Mr. Petrie, Dr. Gales, Dr. Giordano, Dr. Zawicki, and Dr. Mr. Miller. We talked about the facility update. Good news is all the summer projects are done, just a couple punch list items there. And we talked a lot about the getting ready for the return in person for 6 through 12, which has been discussed a few times here already. One of the good news is that all our buildings, both school and administrative buildings, have MERV 13 filters in them installed. So thank you, Mr. Miller, for that. I know we went to extraordinary efforts to get all those filters. I don't know what he had to do to get them, but he got them. So. Number of discussion items. Transportation, we talked about this earlier. We're going to post for permanent transportation supervisor for hiring. Also talked about the great job the transportation department has done working with the cohorts A and B to get that coordination and what have you. So it's been never smooth, but it's been pretty painless here. Discuss the grade 6 through 12 return in person. Dr. Zawicki, the curriculum instruction talked about that, so I'm just going to zip through that. That's been discussed. Coronavirus Relief Fund. Dr. Zawicki reported we received $192,000 in the relief fund, which will offset the subs and leave coverage that we had to pay for. So that's good. Good job there. Our health benefits plan update, we're doing good on from a cost standpoint, doing much better than we were with the SHBP, saving over $1 million. We're still trying to accumulate some money to have a 2-month reserve in that. So that's going good. Good decision there. Dr. Zawicki talked about the dome. We cannot have the dome open based on NJSIAA and the Mount Olive Department of Health. And our fine counselor has recommended not doing that until we get approval. There will not be athletic sports in there. It was up all summer. We're going to leave it up just to maintain it from getting ripped or any structure. So one of the items that was brought up last month was our attorney's fees. So we reviewed the attorney's fees, 2017, 18, 19, and 20. 20 is a little higher. We had a 3-year contract negotiation with our teachers, so that's a little higher. Those were all shared with the board, I think over the weekend or Friday. And one last item was in the Mount Olive Life periodical. It's the paper that comes out in September. there was an article there that said masks donated by Tronox to the Mount Olive Board of Education. For the record, they were not donated to the Mount Olive Board of Education. Dr. Zawicki has approached the publisher and the town to say, we never got them because we would have to approve any approvals. So, fake news. Any questions?
Yeah, John.
Yes, sir.
Just, I know there was a lot of work done, every summer, but I was just wondering specifically, in major projects that we had, like usually we have one or two major projects, and I was wondering if there was any this summer.
Oh, so we had the Geodome.
So the Geodome, we did, so the Gantt, I shared the Gantt charts throughout the summer. So we had the Geodome, we had the installation of the unit vents at Sand Shore. There was more HVAC work done here. Help me out, Glenn. We really limited them tremendously. We did a couple bathrooms at Sand Shore and at
Bathrooms.
that was for full day K. We also did the anatomage room, which was completed. Yeah, so a lot more small scale than we had anticipated. The good news is that the amount of money that, we wouldn't have been able to do with the construction because of the pandemic, but the amount of money that we were going to do the first phase of CMS, that's in capital reserve now. So the plan is, and I think, so I'm glad you brought this up, the plan is, and we'll talk about this at the next meeting, the recommendation is that we do that next phase of CMS this upcoming summer, and then the following summer we complete it, and then we move into our roof projects, which is the long-term thing we need to do.
I ask this question all the time. Do we have any disaster roofs coming up?
No, I don't think we have any disaster roofs, but the lives on the roofs are, if we're going to be proactive about it, we, and you and I have talked about this many times, we really got to hit them by 2023, 2024, and that's throughout the whole district. I think there's one or two spots here, at the high school where there's like sections of roofs at the high school. But we had a roof analysis last year, and then Anthony Gianfrancaro, I told him I wanted him one by the end of this year so we can look at for budgeting, because that's something we got to look at 4 years out, and how we're going to prioritize that. But we got to get to them by 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Just one quick comment.
Yeah, Dr. G.
I just wanted to recommend, and the board can say yes or no, that we have a discussion, a continued discussion about health benefits, and particularly what we're going to do regarding what we've done in the past about givebacks. I think that we discussed it in the Finance Committee meeting. I think it should be a board discussion. Unless the board feels that they don't want to discuss it, then I'm fine with that.
Would anyone like to discuss it?
And I don't know if that should be in a public discussion or a closed session discussion.
It obviously impacts the unions and the associations, so there's obviously a negotiations component there as well, and how it impacts the union contracts. So we don't need to make a decision on that tonight, obviously. You're not suggesting we discuss it tonight, are you?
No, there's no action item,
Right.
so no.
So let's mull that over a little bit and figure out where the best place to have that discussion would be. Full board, committee, public, exec, and we'll come back to it. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
If I
Thank you.
If it provide some edification for.
Sure.
So one of the things that, and Lynn and I actually spoke about this morning, one of the things that we've been sweating for the past 2 years has been making sure that we have at least a full month's payment in the account. God forbid where there's a late payment coming from the township or our state aid payment comes late. It was touch and go in May of 2019, as you guys remember. And so we have successfully, one of the things that I think is a big accomplishment of what we've done in last year's budget, and then now in this year's budget, is that we have built up a little more than a month. I've been very frank with the leadership of EMO that I'll be able to sleep at night, and I think we'll all be able to sleep at night, and we've discussed this ad nauseum in the Finance Committee, that I think we should have 2 months built up, particularly with the climate that's going on. So I think that's a real achievement that we've done that. But I don't think, and this is what I've communicated to everyone else, I don't think we should do any other type of give back until we have the 2 months, especially, you know, if we're going to be fiscally prudent and we want to protect our employees, because I don't think we should give a give back, and then, God forbid, something happens, there's some catastrophic event, a budget cut, and then we have to ask people to contribute more at the end of the year to make our health benefits payment because we're self-insured. So, you know, that's kind of like, you know, I used to teach economics, and it was that, you know, you make sure you have at least 2 mortgage payments in the bank is being fiscally prudent. Up until now, we haven't had a full health benefits payment in the bank. We have not had that. We just achieved that. So, you know, now that we have one, I would like us to have a second one. I think that's the fiscally conservative thing to do. I think that's doing the right thing by our employees, and I think that's doing the right thing by the board.
Thank you. So we'll discuss that some other time. Anyone else? Mr. Schlachey, Policy and Governance
Yes,
Committee
I was
report, sir.
notified by Mrs. Jones that our consultant Strauss Esme has given us several policy alerts. There is a bunch of them, so we decided that we will put it on for the next meeting for first reading. In the meantime, because there were so many, I downloaded all of them and I handed it out to all the boards, so you have time to go over them and you have any questions that at the next board meeting you're prepared to look at them and vote on the first reading.
Super. Question or comments from the board? Seeing none? Board Subcommittee Liaison Reports. Dr. G?
Let's see. Yes. Very quickly, I attended the virtual Recreation Department meeting, and it was just a conversation about the activities that went on throughout the course of the year and what they have upcoming and suggestions for future events. One of the big things that they're planning for is the 150th anniversary of the founding of Mount Olive. And they were happy to say that Mr. Stansberry and his team have been very diligent in providing some assistance and support. They've built some things into the curriculum to help support the initiative, and the students will submit some of their work for the celebration next year. And I also attended the virtual CPAG meeting, which was very interesting. They were excited to get such a large turnout, and I do have my notes. Ta-da. Sharon Sazak did a short presentation on what SEL looks like in the classroom, when and how it's scheduled, some of the activities that the kids engage in to promote social emotional learning, and she did mention the success plans that were mentioned tonight. And one of the key components that she emphasized was that the focus of SEL in our district is to make sure that students feel safe and cared for. And then Mrs. Curry shared how well the students have transitioned back to school. There was some discussion about real time, which was eventually addressed by Dr. Zawicki when he came on, who thanked everybody for being patient as we kind of worked through some of the issues with such a large transition of our student information system. And I think one of the key accomplishments of the night was there was a representative from Peak who was also on the virtual call, who agreed to share information and do some partnering with CPAG to broaden their influence in and around the district. So I think that was great as well. That's it.
Anyone else?
I didn't make the Mount Olive High School one. We had a board meeting last Monday, so I apologize. I wanted to get the notes and share them, but I didn't.
That's Parent-Teacher Association, Suj.
Yeah.
We
What are we
haven't
talking
gotten
about?
to that yet.
I'm just moving this thing
I
right
know
along.
you are. I know.
Mr. President,
Parent-Teacher Association reports.
would you like to hear it again?
Oh, Mr. Kemen already went for the record, so we don't have to hear him. Anyone else? I did not attend the Sand Shore School Home Partnership meeting. I could not make it. but Ms. Curry was, that happened on the 22nd of September. Ms. Curry was nice enough to share her notes with me. So their Pumpkin a Month fundraiser made $800. Virtual Spring Tricky Trade made approximately $8,000, which is pretty impressive. Yearbook link posted on the social media and website for parents to post pictures. They rely heavily on teachers to share pictures. They use Twitter pics. We'll send yearbook photo link to school to post on S'more. Their Spiritwear update, they do have new Spiritwear up on the website. Room parents, that's always fun to choose those. Sign up on the website and email sent to the teachers. They're all virtual events. Ms. Curry, in her principal's report, noted, thank to the donations, staff, snacks, signs, masks, recess equipment. Start with Hello Weeks happening that week. Sandy Hook Promise, Wear Green on Fridays. Ongoing material distribution for Cohort C students as needed, twice per month. And then there's a parent question that can Cohort C kids do a meet and greet with their teacher and classmates, social distance outside, and Ms. Curry had stated she would bring that up at her next admin meeting. I'm not sure if she did that with Dr. Zawicki yet. Okay, and the next meeting is the 13th, well, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's on my calendar. That's all I have. Anyone else? Anyone else attend meetings? Oh, super.
CMS is tomorrow.
There's no board presence report. Hold on. Did I just mess this up? Public comments on action items. 5.1, members of the community may comment on any action item prior to board discussion. Please share your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Abusive or obscene comments will not be tolerated. Action items and action items only. 6.1 all the way down to 10.2. Action items only. Ms. Jones, we did not receive questions on action items.
No.
Perfect. Seeing none, closing the public comment. Mr. Robinson, would the approval of the monthly expenditures and reports?
Yes, 1 second. Shit, how do you get back on? Jammed here. How do you get back on? Sorry,
It's okay.
I can't get it. I was there a second ago. Approval of bill list, but I can't get it.
Want to phone a friend?
There it is, okay. Motion to approve the monthly expenditures and reports, approval of bill list 6/1 through 6/3, month payroll statement. These are the 6/1 through 6/3.
Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Kemmel. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Mr. Kemna, personnel action items?
The recommendation is superintendent, I move personnel action items 7.1 all the way through 7.21.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board? Ms. Ouimet?
Just on the PD, there was one PD that had already occurred, that's on our current list now. 716,
I don't have the PD, which one is it? I don't have the PD.
7.16.
I know,
There's
but
one,
which
the
item
dates
on the
there.
roster?
The one date, it happened already.
It may have started already.
AP Calculus full.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
for our, so we wanted our teachers to get into it as soon as possible. So the College Board just rolled those out and dropped those a couple of weeks ago, and so they did start already, and so it's in progress now. So it's not just a one-day thing, it's ongoing.
How long is it?
I think it's multiple days. I think the College Board, it starts on that date, and then all of them are at least a semester long. They're all hybrid now. We used to go and do them virtually. I'm sorry, used to go do them in person, now they're all virtual.
And I just had one more. I just wanted to say, great job, 7.19 for Sue Ryan, 19 years at Mountain View.
Hear to that? She's my son's age when he's at Mountain View. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Mr. Stevens, curriculum and technology action items?
On the recommendation of the superintendent, I make a motion to move action items 8.1 to 8.3.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Mr. Kemna, finance operations action items.
On the recommendation of superintendent, move finance and operation action items 9.1 through 9.7.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Mr. Strelacci, would you move the administrative action items?
Sure. I'd like to move on the recommendation of superintendent, 10-1 through 10-2.
Questions or comments from the board?
Question, please.
Yes, sir.
10-2, is this an extension of their job they're doing now? Or
Yes.
is this a,
Yes, it's an extension of the job they're doing now. It's similar to when we designate the custodian of records or the homeless liaison. So there's no extra money. It's just that when we have these instances, similar to, like we said earlier, when it comes to residency, it would be truancy matters. But we also get truancy matters that are often related to legal matters, where it's a placement of a homeless student and things like that. So sometimes there's a court order involved. So we have to have someone designated as the truancy officer. So we've done two, just for redundancy purposes.
so there's no extra remuneration?
None.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Ouimet.
Will we be changing the job descriptions
To include that? No, no.
to reflect the
So
new?
I think it's in there. It's any of the duties assigned as per the superintendent, but we could update them, but I'd ask the board council if we need to do that, but I don't think we need to.
It's typically something that's already in there. We can check. If it's not, it's probably a good idea, but as Dr. Zawicki points out, it probably fits into that catch-all anyway. We should probably take a look at it just to check.
Okay.
Put that back up on the next personnel meeting.
Sure.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call in.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes. Old business from the board. Any new business from the board?
Mr. President, I got a little new business here.
All right, floor is yours.
So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.,
Bless you.
God bless you, our one Dr. Zawicki is going to be named Education Ambassador on News 12 New Jersey. So everybody tune in. We have a movie star in our presence. It's the successor to the NJSBA, NJIT, NJDOE Future Ready Schools Program for Sustainable Digital School Program. It's been named in this steering committee. So thank you, Dr. Zawicki. It's proud to have you part of our district. Thank you. So 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, Channel 12.
Congratulations, Dr.
You'll have to get up a little earlier tomorrow.
5 a.m., Mr. Governor. Anyone else in new business? Public comments, 13.1, students, parents, employees, and community members may comment of any item of interest pertaining to the Mount Olive School District. Please state your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Abusive or obscene comments will not be tolerated. We do have several questions. I'll see if anyone from the public first wants to come up, state their name and address for the record. Then I will read the emails that people sent in. So anyone would like to come up, state their name and address for the record?
Good evening, everybody. Christopher Zier, 29 Saunders Lane, Hackettstown, New Jersey, 07840.
Nice.
So you got to guess that we're going to have some questions on what this new learning model will look like. I have a decision I have to make concerning my daughters going to school. Being an educator in a school district that is actually going back full time, I do see the benefit of in-person learning, and I want to get there, but my biggest concerns are, is there a true benefit to 3.5 hours of learning in person versus 6 hours or 6.5 hours of online learning? What is the model going to look like? I know that I'm concerned about going back to a sub-studies, like where classes may be where the teachers are teaching virtually. There'll be a substitute in there where there's going to be maybe different sections set up for the kids that they're going to be learning, and would they be able to address the needs of the students? I have a couple other questions. You want to take a couple first, and then we'll go from there?
Well, sure. I have your email here, and I had reached out to you and left you a voicemail too earlier. But I think there's a couple questions that are very similar to this and echo questions I received in the Parents University the other night. So all of our schedules and all this was in our plan, which we submitted to the Department of Education back in August. So it's on our plan site. So it's in the 118-page document. We also break it out into all these different areas, so it's been up there. So right now, basically, the thinking is that for our kids who've been out for so long, the social emotional benefit of physically getting back to school outweighs and is mitigated by, the loss of some time. That being said, we are providing the AB cohort, and we're still providing the virtual model, so that's not going away. This is a transition period to get kids back into school. And then, like I said earlier, the same way that indoor dining has progressed, if the state removes the mandated 6 feet, then we can serve lunch and we can go full day. I'm hoping that happens, at the change of the marking period. So we're getting kids in school in this half-day model about a month earlier than we thought we were going to. So this is bonus right now. And I'm hoping, what I anticipate and what I hear is if things are still going well, then, by the beginning of by Pearl Harbor Day, hopefully, I'm hoping we can serve lunch and go back to normal school. We'll still be in the A-day, B-day cohort model, but we would be able to do it for full days. We did an extended day with the K-5s where the kids are actually eating in school. It's really tough here at the middle school because we have so many kids, and it's tough at the high school. However, if that is lifted, then we'll be able to do it. So this is kind of bonus time because when we went into this, it was that we wouldn't do it until the end of the trimester and at the end of the marking period. So we're getting extra time right now. So I do understand your point with that. Your question about special needs students, no special needs student is going to have anything diminished or decreased. We did ESY. We were the first in Morris County, and for 2 weeks, we were the only summer ESY in Morris County. When it comes to students who are at risk, we did response to intervention and ran our MO Success Academy during the closure. I'm one of the co-authors of the section of the Return to School Plan, under the conditions of learning, and the resource that the state suggests for how to do that is our RTI manual. So we have had that all going on. That is still going on now. But I do think, when you think about what is the lost time, it's lunch, right? And some of that passing time and things like that. So I think the gain of getting kids back. Now, one of the things I was discussing with the gentleman over there in the back, we don't know right now, and we're going to know over this week exactly how many teachers are coming off FFCRA and how many are going to say they no longer need their ADA accommodation. That is ongoing. So I was very honest with everyone from, starting in September. There may be some instances where it is a stub study. I said it, you might go to your chemistry class, period 1, and there's a teacher there. Period 2, your teacher is teaching virtually, but you're here in school. And then period 3, you go to another class that's in person. So I do not have that definitively right now. We are trending in a place where we were able to make this decision to come back. But there are going to be some instances where you're going to have a sub or a leave replacement covering a class while students are getting virtual instruction from their teachers who are teaching remotely. That is the case. Okay.
The other thing, are you looking to go towards a flipped classroom model where the kids are learning more at home or being assigned more homework and then coming in-person learning and then just reviewing the material?
So we've been doing
content?
a lot with the flip model, and we did a whole week of professional. First of all, we did over 2,500 hours of professional development this summer alone on this. We have our ed tech coaches. Dr. Kreider did a phenomenal job with this. I personally, did PD with the staff during that first week of PD. We did, on station rotation, on the jigsaw model, on using reciprocal teaching. So the idea is that, Google has just now released the new breakout rooms. So the idea is that we're using that so that it's synchronous curated. That being said, that it's not just talking head direct instruction, so that the kids do have collaborative and individual activities where they're rotating through a model in class. So it's going to be a combination of things. We're not doing a pure flip model where it's like a Thayer model where the kids get all of their content remotely,
Right.
and then they come to the class and do activities. There is some of that going on. Starting back 2 years ago, and why I think we're in such a good position, we have now over 400 staff members who are Google certified, and half of them are Google Tool certified. Part of that exam is the use of hyperdocs. Hyperdocs are a built-in, piece of the flip model in which kids are doing that content acquisition, where it used to be sit and get, and a teacher would talk to you. So one of the things that I've spoken a lot about is the death of whole group direct instruction. And that had to happen because that's not a pedagogy that's established, that's not backed by research, but now more than ever, we need to get away from that. So I think our teachers using tools like hyperdocs, does reduce the amount of time you are talking at kids, and rather you're focusing on the skill. So we're being more efficient is essentially what I'm saying. But like I said earlier, this is imperfect. It's a bonus to get the kids back earlier, and as soon as we can serve lunch, you saw what we did K to 5. As soon as we can serve lunch, we're going to, and we're going to go full days.
So do you ever think about having the kids stay in the classroom, serving them lunches there, and having the teachers rotate in?
It becomes problematic for a couple reasons. Number one, it's not recommended by the DOH to bring the food from room to room, and it's actually not recommended in the road back. You're not supposed to do that. I know there are districts who are doing it, the same way that there are, there's private wrestling clubs who are doing indoor wrestling, and then we're not opening the dome. Like our attorney says, they're not following the law. So no, we're not supposed to be doing that. The districts who are doing it, they're violating the DOH's order on that. You also get into problems with two things. One, kids being in the room while they're eating, which is not the recommendation, is that they go to another setting. And then the other thing is with food allergies.
Yeah, so my only big concern is it feels like we're a little bit putting the cart before the horse because it's not fully planned out yet. And what I'm major concern is, let's say this continues to go forward, we have to keep this half-day model going up to where we get to standardized testing. At that point, are you going to change the schedule to concentrate more on the core content and remove some of the electives at the high schools? Because I mean, you guys have done a great job bringing broad electives to them. I want my kids, this is their first year in high school, I want them to experience that. But my concern is that they'll get pushed to the side. Do you see that happening?
So first, we're not putting the cart before the horse. I don't know if you remember, we were the first district in the state. We're the model Governor Murphy put to the whole state. We had our first plan, so we've had this planned out for a long time. Our schedules have been posted on our website since August. So this has been well planned out. And then the second thing is we don't know if there's going to be NJSLA or not. That being said, when you look at the national research and you see that there's been 50% regression, we instead, because we kept RTI going on, looking at our benchmark data from June, and then the one that we just did now, we're looking at about 80% proficiency. So we're at about 30% higher than the average, than the research that's out there. And we're still running our RTI programs now. So we're not going to stop, drop, and drill and kill. I think our teachers are doing a great job. And then the other thing is there's a reduction in the assessments, as you know. The subjects that really are tested are English 10 and Algebra 1, and our teachers have been doing a phenomenal job with that. So no, I don't see us having to drop or cease electives. And then not only that, most of the kids who are taking electives are already past Algebra 1 and English 10.
Okay. You had the plan, but the plan didn't roll out because there was the staffing issues that came up.
Yeah.
So that's when I was addressing about where the
Oh yeah,
cart
but
came
the
from horse.
schedule for AB, right? The schedule for AB, that has not changed. So we may tweak it a couple of minutes here and there because of transportation with cohorts, but the schedule of going AB half days is what we submitted to the state in August, and that's been the plan. So the plan of this district was to be AB half days, no lunch served until the end of the first marking period. So yes, the staffing crisis did not allow us to get the kids back at 6 through 12 till October 19th. When that staffing crisis happened, we said that we would try and do it by the start of the second marking period. So we're getting back earlier, in our contingency plan than we thought we would, but it was always for AB half day, or shortened day, let me say, AB cohort. It was never to do a full day.
Okay. And the last thing is electives. There'll be, not electives, but after-school activities. Will there be late bus transportations, or is that something that's just not?
At this point in time, we don't know if we can do those runs. It's something that
I
we would
figured that'd
like to be able to do.
problematic.
So right now, it's going to be similar to our sports. It's going to be the students are going to have to transport themselves. I would like to be able to do that, but given the number of special needs runs that we need to do, and with the additional runs because of the cohorts, we're not able to run activities buses at this time.
And I do have one more, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Last thing, you have a 45-minute period in the beginning of school that teachers are working with for giving supplemental or remediation. Is there going to be something like that built into the afternoon?
Sure, and
virtual?
it's in the schedule that's been up
Okay.
there and posted. So yes, so the teachers are responsible for still doing office hours, and it's gonna be prescriptive. And one of the things I spoke about with another person is when the teacher tells the kids they have to come, the kids are expected to come. And so that's one of the other things as well that is going to be, a component of this. That so you're getting your in-person, but then you can go home for that supplemental virtual as well.
All right, thank you. I'm
No, I
kind of a
appreciate it.
logistic person, and I'm always trying to work.
It's a lot, and, there's been so many iterations of this. Like, how many infographics have we sent out? Like 17, right? So
Right.
I completely get it, and it's why, when I do the parent universities, I just say thank you for your patience, because it's alphabet soup, and, with abbreviations, and it's also confusing, and for folk, it's really, inside baseball on educational administration on so many ways, and so I appreciate everyone being patient. But the main goal is that as soon as we can go full days, we're going to, because believe me, it's a lot easier to be able to do full days than what we're doing right now.
And it really just boils down to the lunch at this point.
It boils down to lunch. We do not have the room to physically do the 6 feet with the number of kids that we have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Now, let me say one more thing. Hypothetically, if we get a surge of more parents doing all virtual, which may happen, some school districts have done that, so if parents elect to keep more of their kids virtual, then there's the pot, and we drop below 25% in our cohorts, then we could go full day. But right now, we're not at those numbers.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Zara was one who emailed in, so we don't have to read his. Anyone else from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Brianne Jarvis, 54 Deer Path Drive, Flanders. So my first question is, have you considered adding a third cohort to allow for all day and a serving lunch? Why was that not an option? We have an AB cohort. If you had a third cohort and spread the kids out, you'd be allowed to serve lunch. So I'm just curious, was that considered?
So then the kids would only come in once every third week. So that was one of the things that we had considered, and we were worried about if folks are upset about getting less contact time now, you would be reducing it by even more so. So that's why we didn't do the third cohort.
But they would still be getting longer days, whether virtually or in person. No?
We still don't know, because we don't know who would be in the cohort. So if we went to a third cohort and then more kids came into that cohort, we still might not be able to do the full day.
And I would like to speak to the staffing crisis that we continue to discuss. So you continue to reference teachers coming back from the FFCRA, which my understanding of that is that teachers are allowed to take 2/3 pay and take a leave of absence for up to 10 weeks. You have spoke to my husband and I, and you've stated that no, teaching virtually is indeed part of FFCRA. Can you point me to the section that shows?
So there's actually we have our board attorney here who oversaw all this with us. So there's actually multiple components to FFCRA. So number one, it's that while you are quarantined, you're protected under that component.
For 80 hours.
Yeah, for 80 hours. Then there's the other component where you get 12.
Wait, I'm sorry, while you're quarantined?
Yes, if you're exposed to the
If you're
coronavirus.
exposed,
By
right? So
a
that would-
state, federal, or local order, if you're directed to quarantine, or you've been ordered by a physician to quarantine due to COVID, you're entitled to 80 hours,
Okay, so
capped at $510.
I should actually clarify, because you reference it in terms of being home on childcare.
Yes, so we do have, do you want to talk about
Yeah,
this?
employees are entitled to 10 weeks of expanded family leave under the FFCRA.
Leave,
Right,
Leave.
for up to 10
But these
weeks.
teachers haven't been home on leave. They've been teaching and working. So now what's preventing them from now taking FFCRA? If they've been working, they haven't been home on leave.
Right.
They've been working virtually. So is there a section that says teaching virtually is acceptable replacement for FFCRA, or are all of these teachers now eligible to come back and go out on FFCRA, is my question.
So there are a variety of possibilities. Could they do that? Absolutely. But the idea was that we were providing the accommodation so that they wouldn't take the leave, because we wanted, particularly with the middle school and high school, where teachers have subject-specific certifications, that would be better in a virtual environment than having leaves or substitutes in which it would totally compromise our instructional program.
And
So-
I granted, no, I want my kids back in school, and I understand you're between a rock and a hard place, and this is not an easy decision, but how I feel right now is like you have essentially been lying to us about I feel like I've been lied to. You literally have mentioned the FFCRA multiple times in your parent universities and in this meeting tonight. And that is not what these teachers are doing. They are teaching virtually because you gave them
No,
that
we
option.
we have teachers who are also on leave as well. Under
It's a
FFC.
combination of both. So some teachers are out because they were permitted to teach virtually, and other teachers have availed themselves of FFCRA. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all approach for all these folks.
And the larger group are under ADA, is the larger group.
Right, which you haven't really mentioned much with the
So I can go
disabilities.
back and replay the parent universities. I spoke about FFCRA and ADA both times because it's a combination of both things.
Okay.
We're also limited, obviously, because of the personnel and privacy implications of what we can
Right, I know that.
discuss.
So, having that said, you told us before because of HIPAA laws, you couldn't tell us exactly what teachers are coming back, and I had the question for you, which of my children's teachers are going to be in the building when they return next Monday? And you said, because HIPAA laws, I'm not asking you who's coming back from leave. I'm asking you which teachers are going to be in the building. I also emailed the building principal and asked him this. Nobody can give me this information. Like, how am I supposed to feel comfortable and confident that my child is going back when you can't even tell me what teachers are going to be in the building? Or, while I'm at it, how many classes are going to be taught in a large cafeteria setting? Because that's also been told that they'll be in the cafeteria, the gym, and the auditorium. I don't need a babysitter. My kids are not babies. I get you're proud of yourself for opening 3 weeks ahead of schedule. I don't want them to come to school just to come to school. I want a safe environment where they're learning.
So then the virtual environment still exists. We're not getting rid of the virtual environment.
It does, but
So, yeah.
you continue to pat yourself on the back, and meanwhile, my kid's losing hours of work because now we're going to a half-day schedule.
So, like we said, the goal is to get the kids back as much as possible, right? This is a compromised position, and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. There are multiple moving pieces. The FFCRA is a component of this, and no, I can't tell you explicitly which teachers are out on FFCRA. Your
I don't
teachers,
need to know
your
that.
teachers can email the students and tell them whether they will be whether they will be teaching virtually or they'll be in, if they feel comfortable to do so. We are providing more information from the building principals, but if a teacher's out and they're supposed to be in school and they need a sub, there's the possibility of doing a sub study because of the shortage of coverage. That is a possibility, and I've been completely honest about that from September, what this could possibly look like. And one of the reasons why we didn't open up with all subs is because we did not want a situation where we couldn't ensure the social distancing and we had 800 kids in the MOPAC over at the high school, or we had the auditorium filled with kids who were all individually on different Google Meets. So, we are trending where we have more staff coming back and it's going to be more normal, but it's not going to be entirely. There's going to be some remote instruction going on where the teachers are not here, but the students are.
And by the way, with the expanded childcare, it's not automatic. You still have to show that your child's school is closed,
Right.
or that your childcare provider, you have to certify, is unavailable to care for your child, and that there's no other suitable person, essentially.
Right, so what would the deadline be, or is there a deadline to know when teachers will be coming
So
back
what I said to
from?
you, it depends on their individual cases. So I cannot say all teachers are coming back on this day because some of them took a leave on September 1st, some of them took a leave on September 18th. So that's why I cannot, so I know you're frustrated, but I cannot make a declaration they're all coming back on this day.
Right.
And this is one of the we're not the only school district dealing with this. There are multiple school districts dealing with this throughout the entire state. There's multiple, I think the latest reporting was that there's 85 districts who were totally closed because of staffing issues, because of these two laws.
Okay, that's good for tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A final point is the FFCRA does expire on December 31st. So
I'm sorry?
the FFCRA does expire on December 31st.
December 31st.
Yeah.
In which case, anyone out on that will be returning?
Yes. Unless then they take FMLA.
Unless they avail themselves of some of the other
Which then they
federal
wouldn't
or
get
state
paid and
laws
things like
that apply.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, I'll read some of the, excuse me, some of the questions that were emailed in. This one's from, and I apologize to the people at home watching if I mispronounce your name. Maria Lagatua, to the board with the changes, and I think Dr. Zwicky answered some of these, so to the board with the change of middle and high school returning to hybrid model, please address the loss of instruction time, changes in schedules, including the students' virtual week, and how busing will occur for students that will be in a timely manner. As transportation identified, it could take an additional 30 to 90 minutes.
So I don't know about the additional 30 to 90 minutes. I think that might be in reference to where their kids are getting home approximately 90 minutes ahead of. That was for the K to 5. But I will reach out to this constituent and interact with them.
Okay,
with
super.
specific questions.
And I think you answered a lot of these in the first couple questions. The change of middle school and high school. Second question is from Doug Cohen. Says, due to the limited, he was just saying why he's emailed the question, sorry. Question 1, given the recent announcements about the middle school and high school opening to a hybrid model, what, if any, educational expectations will be adjusted? At the end of last school year and in the summer, Dr. Zwicky acknowledged that there was a regression in learning, so how are they supposed to maintain the expectations without further regression while losing even more instruction time? And I think you addressed that with that statistic with our RTI model. What was it? We were ahead?
Yeah, so we were at 80% proficiency.
Okay.
And the national research shows, at least 50% regression.
Okay, and number 2, and I'm just reading these for the record. If the overall goal is to get children into the building to ensure the kids are getting social and emotional support in addition to academics, then was any thought given to adding a cohort to allow for less people in the buildings so you could do lunch and keep the academic day closer to the length of the normal year? And I believe you addressed that when you looked at the numbers of the cohort C. A question from Cynthia Serbo. Question is regards to the lesson being taught today on Columbus Day. My son goes to Mountain View Elementary. Today his teacher asked if any of the children knew what today was. My son responded, it's Christopher Columbus Day. She said that is correct. With that, she gave them an assignment to read a book online. That book was titled Indigenous Peoples Day. The only mention of Columbus in the lesson was that he killed millions of people, which is false. My question is why? Why was my son and other students not being taught about Columbus and his discoveries in the New World? Why are we teaching children a false narrative that he's a mass murderer? My son also told his teacher that in the state of New Jersey, we still celebrate Christopher Columbus Day, and that is not Indigenous Peoples Day here. That has not been passed yet in this state. I would like to know why history is being revised and erased.
So I'll be looking into this with Mrs. Kalinsky, and then we'll get back to this parent
Super.
and address those concerns.
Thank you. And that was all of the emails. Closing the public comments, Lynn. Board comments, go around the room. Ms. Ouimet?
Thank you. The first I have is, in the past, we used to get meeting notes from the President's Council, and I haven't seen anything. I know they had one recently, I believe. Can we get those again, the board?
From the PTO President's Council?
Yes.
So since I've been here, I haven't shared them with the full board. If you would like to get those, we
Yeah.
can send them out to
Put
you.
them on the board docs once they happen, once a
That's
month.
fine.
That's fine.
Also, the middle school, I can't talk. The middle school liaison meetings, I know we have a new principal. I know we used to get them from there also.
So we've had conversations with email and board council about the liaison meetings. It's a management issue, and they're shared with me. And then, from there, if there's specific questions, I could share them with the board, but they go directly to me as your chief school administrator.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see them again like we used to. Also, I don't know if this was covered since I got here today, because I see the hallways with the arrows. Does that mean that all the hallways in all the schools are going all in one direction? Is the high school the
Yes, as
same as
best
the
we
middle
can.
school?
They're one-way stairwells and one-way hallways.
So even in the high school, we're all going one way?
Yes.
Okay. Another question, I know you were talking about just setting up different things and in preparation, and I just wanted to ask this question. With the teacher's desk, will they have barriers like the plastic barriers like you have like in the supermarkets, things like that, when
So
they're in
no,
their classrooms?
no, we're not doing the barriers because everyone is wearing masks. So according to the DOH and the DOE, you only do the barriers if you can't ensure the social distancing, and we are ensuring the social distancing. And then also with the other conversations that we've had with DOH, there's the recent study that came out yesterday that it can survive on a surface for 28 days. It just creates another surface for the virus to cling to. And the best protection being to wear masks. So no, we're not doing barriers.
Okay. Also, I know when we had our last kind of semi-meeting, Jeannie had brought up something, and I remember, as far as, do we ever do closed captioning for our Zoom meetings? Or have we ever considered that? I mean, sometimes it's even good, sometimes people can't understand us, they tell me, it's hard to hear.
Absolutely, we do have that functionality, and we do it. I did it for my last Facebook Live. To be honest, there's times we forgot to do it, but it's something that we're consistently doing now.
Yeah, if we could consistently do it, that would be great, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiemet. Mr. Robinson.
No comment.
Our newest board member, Ms. Aquino?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Stevens?
No comment.
Mr. Schillaci?
Welcome, Mrs. Aquino.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, how do you do evaluations on virtual teaching?
So we actually got together our DAC, the District Evaluation Advisory Committee, which is a vestige of EE4 New Jersey, which was from 2011, before the advent of the 2012 Teach New Jersey Act. We've done a lot of work on that, after we had our CUSAC corrective action plan for not implementing Teach New Jersey fully. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything with fidelity. So first and foremost, right now, every classroom has been visited with a non-evaluative walkthrough tool, focusing on differentiation. And so every Google Classroom is shared with every teacher's direct supervisor, so we're doing that. We're starting the evaluation process next week, and so we're looking at all that data. And I actually showed it to the personnel committee. They saw what that walkthrough tool looks like. So now we're going to be shifting to that. So it's a combination of things. There's the provision in the administrative code where teachers, if they elect to do so, they can use a portfolio, which always existed. We're also looking at some of the other options with teachers if they want to, if they elect to, nothing mandated, that they can record some lessons, reflect on the rubric, and then have a post-observation conference that way, which has been done in the state now was a pilot in the state over 8 years ago. And then there's the traditional model, so where the observer would participate in a virtual class. We are going to try, as per the broadcast that came out, to do at least 1 or 2 in-person observations as well. But for most teachers, it's probably going to be 1. If the teacher's 1 virtually. If the teacher's out teaching virtually the entire year because of an ADA accommodation, we're going to do a combination of virtual observations and also the portfolio model.
Thanks.
Dr. G?
Thank you. Well, I'll also start off by welcoming Ms. Aquino to her first official board meeting. And I wanted to thank our community for coming out and sitting through the board meeting. We appreciate you coming. And I also just want to say that we're all going through a very tough time in this very unprecedented moment. And there's no playbook for this. We're kind of creating the playbook as we go along. And we do appreciate everyone's patience as we kind of tiptoe through this to make sure that we're doing it right so that we don't have the starts and stops that other districts have, because that's even more frustrating from what I understand. So I appreciate your patience with us as the board and with the administration, because we want to make sure that we do this right. We do recognize that there's a lot of frustration. Many of us are impacted with the same frustrations that you have, but I'll just echo the sentiments that you've seen all around. We are in this together, and we do appreciate the support and the patience that you're giving us. Thank you, Dr. G. That's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Gills. Mr. Kemna?
Welcome, Ms. Aquino.
Thank you.
Oh, that was it?
Important stuff.
Quick. Real quick, I'd just like to thank Dr. Zawicki, the administrative staff, our teachers, our students, parents. It's not easy, like Dr. Gill said. This is unprecedented times for all of us. There's no playbook that we can go and say, when this happened in the past, how did we do this? Or a model that we can use to say that one worked out. the best way. So, we do forget, I forget, and parents forget, and we're constantly reminding everyone, we are in the middle, whether you agree with it or not, of a global pandemic, all right? And particularly in New Jersey, where we hit the hardest with it. So it's ongoing. Things could change. We were not given the best guidance as school districts over the summer from NJDOE. So I think with all that being said, I'd like to say thank you, Dr. Zwicky, and everyone for making this happen sooner rather than later, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We do not need to go to confidential session. So, motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming out, everyone.